Last week was the most fun. In 1 week, Intel came in, right? The Biden administration had given $11 billion to Intel, given it to them, done. Corporate just gift. And you turn that into really, it was like less than 5 minutes of conversation. And Intel agreed to give us 10% of their company, which of course was worth $11 billion. Making America great again is one of the key statements, and people don't always understand what you mean. So we always talk about 1870 to 1913, but in the mid-1980s, America owned more of the rest of the world than they owned of us. We owned $140 billion of the rest of the world, net of what they owned of us. And when you came into office this time, the rest of the world owned $24 trillion more of our assets than we owned of theirs. And so when people argue with you about, the trade deficit is nothing, the trade deficit sends 1.2 trillion of our dollars to them. And what do they do with it? They buy the great America. Because when we learned in college, what we learned was that if you keep printing these dollars, they're supposed to devalue. But the problem is we're too smart. We invented the light bulb, the transistor, the GPU, so they keep buying us. And the only president ever to understand it, and you understood it in the 80s and the 90s, and I used to see you on TV and you'd say, God, what are these people doing? And finally we've changed it. So let's go over what we changed. So Japan and Korea, they're never going to open their markets to us. So we've negotiated $900 billion that they're giving you to invest in national and economic security in America. The European Union, the second largest economy, $20 trillion. And all the experts said you'd never get a deal done with them. And watching you in Scotland was my favorite thing, right? 15%, they'll pay us 15%. And we will pay zero. So we can export to their $20 trillion economy, and they can pay to come to the great American consumer, right? So, a couple of other things. 4 days before you took office, the Commerce Department, which had the CHIPS money, they set up this thing called NatCast, which was a make-believe not-for-profit. And they signed contracts to wire them $7.4 billion. This was just nonsense. So we stopped the payment. We've got the money. It's an illegal thing to try to set up a department that's not the Department of Commerce, that kind of acts like the Department of Commerce. And what was it filled with? All these people who work for the Biden administration. I mean, it's exact corruption that you talk about. $7.4 billion now clawed back. Last week was the most fun. In 1 week, Intel came in, right? The Biden administration had given $11 billion to Intel, given it to them, done. Corporate just gift. And you turn that into really, it was like less than 5 minutes of conversation. And Intel agreed to give us 10% of their company, which of course was worth $11 billion. So it's not socialism. This is capitalism. If you give someone $11 billion, who's just building in America, they're not doing something special, they're building in America. And their CEO told the president he didn't need the grant. And you said, well, then why don't we get something for it? So it's amazing. You're going to watch semiconductors come home, right? We don't produce semiconductors. We've got $165 billion for TSMC, but you're going to watch the whole ecosystem come home because Donald Trump is the only president who understands the magnet to make them come home is one word, which used to be your favorite word. Now it's dropped to number 4, which is tariffs, right? Tariffs are going to bring semiconductors home. They are going to empower Bobby to execute MFN. Tariffs are going to be one of those tools that he's going to use to do that. We're going to do it for furniture. We're getting autos. We got steel, aluminum. I mean, it has been a blast, a blast. So 2 more things. The Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain because you are the crypto president, and we are going to put out GDP on the blockchain so people can use the blockchain for data distribution, and then we're going to make that available to the entire government so all of you can do it. We're just ironing out all the details so we can do it. Patents. We have given tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to universities for them to do research, and they invent things. And you know who owns those patents? The universities. So we are going to make a deal with them all, which is if we give them the money, don't you think it's fair that the United States of America and the taxpayers who funded it get a piece of that, right? So we wrote a letter to Harvard, so Linda and I working together. I mean, it's so much fun to work with everybody here. I mean, we just have a blast, you know, because Linda's hitting Harvard and she says, what can we do? And now we send them a patent letter and we'll hit them again. So we're having fun together. This is the greatest cabinet working for the greatest president, and I just want to say thank you. I'm having the time of my life working for you, Mr. President.
Thank you. That was very well stated, wasn't it? Some things people don't think of too much. Thank you very much. Great job. Well, you know, we didn't take a stake in the sense that it was reported. Everyone said, I bought a stake in Intel. No, I got it for free. I said I was with the, is that correct statement? Howard was there.
Absolutely correct.
Scott knew all about it. They came in, a man was charged with something by a very good person, Senator Cotton, made some statements about the gentleman that was running Intel. When he came in, and I said some rough things about him, I said, I'm not happy with it, and they called, and he was very devastated at what I said. I said he should immediately resign. And he came to see me, and I was very impressed by him, actually. And he made a mistake, or factors happened where something like this could have taken place. In the meantime, his board was staying by him. And I said to him, and took about, I would say, less than 45 seconds. I said, you know what you should do if you're smart? Give the United States of America 10% of your company. And he looked at me and he said, I'll do that. I said, I just made $11 billion for the United States. And we made the deal. I didn't pay, we didn't write a check. Now, I guess Biden, with his stupid CHIPS Act, handed money to all these people that didn't need any money. Exactly. It didn't do anything. You know, they're giving billions of dollars to everybody. They all have so much money, and they have more money. But there's no commitment that you had to build. They just took all this money. I don't know, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. See, with tariffs, they have to come in. Because if they don't come in, they can't sell into our country. So it's power, and you don't have to give up any money. But I said to him very simply, I mean, I'm glad we're straightening this out, because everyone thinks I bought in. No. I said, it would be great, we'd be a great partner for you, and I want to see Intel do well. You know, Intel was a great company.